funny.
But we'll be all right. Hope you guys are doing good, man. How we doing? It's been a while.
It has.
We are back.
Dude, it's good to be back, though.
Yeah, man.
It's always a good time when I see my boy Jeff
man.
at the other end of the table. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Hope you guys are doing well. It's August. Summer's pretty much over.
School's
back.
Get
into the business side of things, back to the grind.
Let's go.
So hopefully we'll be able to, continue what we've been doing, the momentum that we have, and put out some good stuff for you guys. I don't know how often we're gonna be able to do these. Our schedule's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, summer was tough.
Yeah,
summer was a hard thing to navigate because
traveling and
everybody was on vacation at different times.
Josiah's traveling with his wife, celebrating their anniversary.
Yeah.
So man. But we're gonna do what we can. I think I'm not so much worried about quantity anymore.
Not me.
I'm worried about quality. So when we have something that we feel is good, then we'll find the time to record it
and put it out.
We'll put it out.
I love it.
We appreciate you guys, all the people that support us, man. Everybody that listens, gives us comments and feedback. And
hey, shout out to my mother-in-law who's been giving on our Patreon for a while now.
My sister-in-law as well. Man.
Yep.
Yeah, man. We appreciate our patrons. We appreciate everybody who takes time to listen and
we don't take that kind of stuff lightly, man.
Not at all.
That really helps.
Yes.
And I can only imagine from now going forward, how much your sacrifice, even if it's not a sacrifice for you, your giving has just helped us out tremendously, and how much it'll help us out in the future. So just shout out to everybody who's been out helping us out in that way.
Absolutely. So we have I think a pretty fun topic.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be helpful for the average person just to understand what it's like.
I would hope so.
You know what I'm saying?
Because it's not as I feel like some people see it and they're just like, oh man, I could do that. I can do that.
I know. I used to think that.
And I'm cool if you think that way. But it's not as easy as it looks, and it's not as light as it looks. It's a lot of stress that goes into it.
So we're talking about preaching, guys. This is season 4 of Preacher's Hour, and we're finally talking about preaching. I've been thinking about doing something on this, but it never made sense. And so I think now, both of us have recently preached.
Yes. And I got to preach on Saturday.
Okay. This coming Saturday?
Yeah.
Sheesh. Okay.
We got to talk about that because that's a hard one.
Okay. We will. Yeah, man. I just preached a week ago. So for you guys who are watching this, listen to this, it'll be 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
At Flipside.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put the link to the sermon in the
You
video.
should. It was a blessing to me.
It was an experience, bro. I'm telling you, bro.
So what was going through your head right before you go up? Just
okay,
kind of
so
you
you saw second service. That's the thing. So I was a
Mm-hmm.
lot more comfortable because I'd already done it before.
Got you.
And then so first service, man, just even the whole 2 weeks leading up, every time I saw somebody, "Oh, you ready? How you feeling? You ready? How you feeling?" That is not those are not helpful questions, guys.
Oh, dude.
I appreciate everybody who did it. It was all out of concern and coming from a good place.
I'm sorry because
But
I
it's
definitely did
not.
that.
It doesn't.
I think I did it twice.
Yes, everyone. Hey, how you feeling? You ready?
You ready?
What? So so the closer it got, I was just like, oh man. And we can talk about all the details, but just parking at the church. We got there at 8. Right, I couldn't sleep. I woke up at 5:30. I couldn't go back to sleep. I was just like,
dang.
I got enough sleep. I was good. I ate at I don't even know 7 something, and then we got to church at 8. And there was an issue with my PowerPoint, so I was trying to work that out with the tech people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a meeting with Pastor Carl and everybody who's involved in the service. We talked about how everything's gonna go. There's all these extra things that they were gonna do. There's a couple different videos they were gonna show. So service was gonna go a lot later. So then I'm getting nervous. Am I what? Do I have to go faster? He's like, no, just you're good. Just even if it goes over, it's fine.
Which is crazy because you don't really see this part.
Nah, bro.
Of you just think I'm about to get up there and just preach.
Bro. You have so many things you got to think about. Make sure your slides are good. I get mic'd up. You know what I'm saying? You got the mic on, and then Service starts. People are still, even outside, hey, you ready? How you feeling?
How you feeling?
We go in Pastor Carl's office, him and Pastor Jeff, and I think John was there. They prayed for me real quick. John was there, prayed for me. Service starts, the worship is going, and you just know, like, okay, it's coming. Like, man, okay. Worship song goes. They do the announcements. They have like all these different videos, like I said, which is cool because I got to pull from those later.
Yeah.
But the time it's like about to go, I'm just like, this is really happening.
You start walking up that
Like,
stage.
Like the last song is finished. The lead singer is like praying, so that's the signal to come up. So I'm sitting right behind Carl. We get up, we go up there. I'm get everything on the stool ready. I got my Bible, got my tablet, got my phone, which had the slides on it. I had thought through all the logistics of how I was gonna do it.
Okay.
Which was good. All those years of teaching like really paid off because I was like prepared for the logistical side of like how I'm gonna physically navigate through this thing. And man, and then like Carl like introduces you, and then he leaves. You didn't see, no, first service, he like slapped me on the butt. It was hilarious, bro. And I had my wallet on that side, so it was like, bah! Everybody was like, what the heck? It was hilarious. And like, man, like you're up there, like by yourself. Now, luckily, first service, like I knew a lot of the people. A lot of people that I already knew. So like there's a lot of friendly faces. So it's like, all right, cool. Like, and then they're not recording it. So it's very intimate.
Got you.
And so like you feel like you can mess up. You feel like you can like not be perfect. You're just kind of working the kinks out.
Like you'll have a lot of grace.
Yeah, a lot of grace. Yeah. Everything was cool. First service went good. Like it was way better than I thought it was gonna go. I thought it was gonna be a disaster. It went good. So then we go in Carl's office in between, and and we talk through. How can you fix this? You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. So
wow.
So he gave me a bunch of stuff to do. So then second service, when I'm going up there, I'm thinking about all the things that he said that I need to add.
Okay.
So that was the biggest adjustment between first and second. But like when you're up there, second service, I'm like, I didn't even remember that it was being recorded. Like you don't, because the camera's so far away and it's dark. Like, it's not like, oh my God, I'm on live. Like you don't think about it. So at that point, I'm like, I already know what to do, but then there's so many more people, and they're literally just like no expression,
like just looking at you straight, dead now.
Like, bro, I'm talking and talking, like there is nothing. No one's like doing. There was a couple laughs in some of my jokes, but most of the time it was just there was this older gentleman like on the far right, and I could see him in the corner of my eye, and like it looks like he was doing this. So I'm like, oh, he's leaving. I look over there, and he was just kind of like, he had like a little trimmer, so he wasn't really. Oh. He was just moving. So I was like, oh, dang, never mind. I thought I had somebody who was like, yeah, say that.
I'm dead.
You doing that?
That's hilarious.
But yeah, man, it was crazy the amount of time and let's just get into our notes here, bro.
Let's do it, man. It's exciting to hear like that, all that in there,
bro. So. Point number one, guys. Preaching is scary.
Yeah.
It is terrifying, bro. Like, some people make it look easy. I think that's why we don't really appreciate it. We don't.
A lot of people are just like genuine communicators. They just know how to talk.
They have a lot of experience. They're all the stuff that you would worry about, the lights and like the camera, people looking at you, you're gonna mess up. Like, if you have enough experience, like Will, I guarantee you Will doesn't get in there. I don't care what you say, Will Staley.
Yeah, Will, like even
you're a professional preacher.
That dude had to preach at TG, and he found out on Tuesday that he had to preach Friday, and like just got up there like it was just.
He has never not killed it.
Never.
Like it doesn't. I've never like ever heard a bad sermon from Will. Like he just, but you can tell that he's done this so many times.
Yeah,
he's extremely comfortable. He's not worried about all the little things that you would worry about. But if you don't have that experience, it's so scary, bro.
And it also, like, when you're not in you can be in a familiar place, but where it's not like a familiar, like responses. So like preaching at a so-called black church, you're gonna get a lot of like response, and people are gonna be like, if you're messing up, then be like, take your time, or if you say something wrong, they'll be like, Lord have mercy. Like they'll like cue you in like to where you're at. But when you're in a more like lecture type of church where it's like a lot more just like school wise, like it just feels more like a school setting, and you're there like to learn. You just get people looking at you, and that can be heck intimidating. Yeah, they're just like, you're like, whoa, like come on, y'all, like say something to me.
It's like it's intense because like it's even in that setting, it's weird when people are like, yeah, amen. You're like, oh,
because it shocks you. You're genuinely like, wait, what is?
Yeah.
Okay, just be quiet.
Yeah.
like just be like everybody else.
I appreciate it. I said thank you. Yeah, man. It's like, man, there's so many things I was afraid of. I was afraid of like looking stupid, like trying to make a joke and it's not funny, right? Like that's a fear.
Especially when it hit for you. You was like, oh, this is good.
Oh no. Okay. Like you just don't want to look dumb. You don't want to like, dude, reading publicly.
Oh, dude.
Terrifying. I was fumbling and stumbling on the words and stuff. Oh, hold up. What did it say? Oh, okay. Yeah, trying to read the scripture.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Gosh, it is.
And it's weird because it's the pressure. It's a pressure that comes from not from like the outside. It's not like it's like the people aren't trying to put this on you.
Yeah.
No one's like, and most people really don't care if you're like messing up when you're reading. But like in your mind, you stumble over one word, and it seems like you stumbled over the whole thing. And they're like, "Oh man!" So then it also goes into like feeling like, like you're getting people or you're distracting people.
Yeah,
like your sermon is like distracting rather than being informative or helpful.
That's the biggest thing is that you don't want to get tripped up on these small things where people miss the point.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, we got interrupted by our brother patient. So.
Beloved
brother patient, we're glad to see him. Anyway, yeah, man, you don't want it to be a distraction, like those little tiny things of like reading the scripture or like trying to get to the scripture, or
that's always the one.
Your tablets, like, oh, hold on, like I misplaced my notes. Like those little tiny things you don't want.
Your phone locks.
Yeah, all those little. Oh man. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that like you feel like you're gonna look stupid.
I think this one's like the scariest one.
The second point? Yeah, leading people astray. Like you do not want to be biblically incorrect. I think
that's like the most.
That does not feel good. Like that was one of my biggest fears is like there's times where I'm saying stuff, I look at Pastor Carl like just to make sure he's not like you know. Luckily, which we'll talk about this a little bit later, but like I met with him before. I think I met with him that Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
And we talked through my sermon, and so he gave me a lot of like he liked a lot of stuff. He's like you need to like get more focused and things like that. He helped me really like streamline it into like having a main point and being able to come back to that.
Oh.
And so he also helped me avoid being biblically incorrect, which luckily I wasn't. But there's definitely been times where it's like you're not sure if this is confusing, if this is like, you know, maybe it's going to be off, maybe it's going to be misinterpreted by people, maybe they don't understand it. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, because I think not being able to talk to someone who's more knowledgeable than you about your sermon could literally lead you to like disaster. And not just you. Like, you'll look crazy, you'll look stupid. But then some people will take what you say and run with it, thinking like, "Oh, the Lord spoke to me today because this is exactly what I needed to hear." But like that was me, that wasn't God. That was not the Lord. Yeah. So I think even for me, like preaching is not wanting to lead people astray, because I don't want. I've been that type of person where someone preached a sermon to me, and then I didn't find out till I was like hecka older. Like, oh, that's not true. It's like, no, that's not true.
Yikes.
Like, oh shoot.
Yeah,
I just heard it when I was a kid, and I just kind of like went with it. I thought that was real, and it wasn't.
That's scary, man. Like you don't want to be the reason why people are going off in their lives with the wrong information.
Out there preaching nonsense.
Yeah, man. Obviously, like I talked about this in my sermon, which was hilarious because afterwards I said like, you know, don't give me credit. Like, don't tell me I did a good job.
And then you said
everybody after was like, I don't want to tell you did a good job. So it was, that was, but I mean, that's very true. Yeah. Like I didn't say that first service either. That was second service. I was like, this part I need to, because it's also one of the things Pastor Carl told me is like, you need to put more of your story in there, more of you in there. So
and I think that really helped while you were preaching. People connect with Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh well, he's not like preaching at us.
Mm-hmm.
He's preaching like to us, but he's also including himself.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I thought it was really, really great to talk about like your pride and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man, because that's a part I'm afraid of getting to, like long term, where I've been doing it so long. I love to talk to Will about this actually, because he has so much experience. Like, do you get to a point where you feel like, no, I got this.
I can kill every sermon that someone gives me.
I'm that dude.
I think about that with like celebrity preachers too.
Oh,
like I'm always just thinking like, do you ever just be like, oh yeah, this I'm gonna kill.
Don't even prepare.
You just get up there like,
all right,
and you just have like, even when you have ideas that you think are, so like just for like Mike Todd, like he's a great preacher, and like from what I've seen, he's biblically correct in everything I've seen. I don't endorse this man 100% because I don't know him that well. I don't know him at all. I don't know him that well. I don't know him at all. Just what I've seen through social media and through YouTube. But like sometimes I'm like, these examples or these illustrations are extravagant.
They are
like,
elaborate.
Just like, did you come up with this by yourself?
Yo.
Is this like a team of people coming up? Like, how do you?
What if we have you parachuting? Like, I mean, baby,
they're crazy,
man.
And I always think like, how do you remain humble when you're killing it consistently?
Yeah, that's real,
like
bro.
there's, and I can only speak from Mike Todd in my experience. Since I've seen this dude on YouTube, every sermon I watch has been an extreme banger. Like it's just like, dang. And I always find myself like, oh, I can grow from this. I can like do better. Like I can learn from this sermon. And I always think like, I mean, I preach good sermons and bad sermons.
Me too.
Consistently.
Oh yeah. I never know how it's gonna go.
Never.
Because the sermon before, I thought it wasn't that good. So I was like, oh, man.
Which is crazy. So when you have that mindset, like, bro, I'm like, you know, and this is not how preach. Oh, this is not all preachers think.
Yes.
But it's like, man, I'm like 5-0 right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm on a streak.
I'm on a streak. Like,
man.
Dude, pitch me whatever.
Real.
I'll knock it out the park.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with like the pride in that? Like,
that definitely happened to me.
Did it?
Cause like I felt like this was only at TG. Like I felt like I had like a good like 2 or 3 really good ones in a row.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do this. Like this really complicated, hard concept, like trying to preach from an epistle, which is really difficult.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. Like I mean I got some like, oh, that was good, but I just didn't feel like it was good. It just like that my one on the feature, I just like, this was too much. And so then I'm like, man, you weren't there. I forgot where you were, but you weren't there.
I think it was on vacation.
And so going into the flip side one, I was like, I'm on a losing streak. You know, I missed
dang.
like my last one. That's the only thing I was thinking about. Was like, it doesn't matter any other good ones that I preached. Like the last one I did was not that good.
Nothing else can like.
Yeah, so like I got to try to get out of this slump.
Dang.
You know, which is like none of that should be a part of any of what we're talking about. Like,
yeah, when it comes to preaching,
yeah.
I think that having fear, feeling a little bit afraid of like leading people astray or looking stupid. I think all that stuff is healthy if done if in the right view, but also could be very detrimental if it's in the wrong view, because now you can be thinking, oh, you know what? Like I'm too afraid to speak on behalf of God. Then you're being disobedient.
Yes,
and it's like that's not good. Or now it's like, I don't want to look stupid, so now I'm gonna like try to do too much to like
or too little. Keep it real safe and simple. Yeah,
just be like, He died for your sins.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Yeah. This last part right here. This was actually something you know me. I hate criticism.
I don't have this, which is like really cool.
Fam,
to see that you.
I hate, like that was one of my, like, even when Pastor Carl wanted to meet with me on Tuesday, I was like, he about to tell me I'm trash. I'm about to start
Did you send him
over.
your sermon beforehand?
No. I mean, so here's the thing. So we probably back in like June, I want to say, we met. Like me, Patient, John, Pastor Jeff, Pastor Carl. We met. Okay. And he had told us, like, even before that, like, I want all you guys are going to preach. We're going to do a series together. You guys are going to help me with this series on Mark. And so we were like mentally prepared. So then we met with him. He assigned us all a chapter. ahead of time. So then we read it, we met, we talked about like what we saw in the chapter. We started helping each other. We got the schedule when we were going to go. So I knew I was preaching like for months ahead of time. So my sermon was like, the bones of it were pretty much done like 2 months ahead of time. Like this is also why it went so well. This is the most prepared I've ever been for a sermon. Like, I mean, hours went into this thing.
Nice.
Like a good 7, 8, 9 hours.
Sheesh,
So
go.
that's why it went so well, because of the preparation.
And you're not like stuck to your notes. You're not like stuck to.
I mean, I knew my notes, so I mean, I almost memorized them. Like I didn't
but
read
I think it's good.
very much because I knew it. So because
there was a couple of times when you would like say something when you were away from your tablet. So I don't know if it was like on the screen above you or not, but you would just say it, and then all of a sudden it pop up, and I was like,
no, I knew it. I mean,
I flowing right now,
especially after this is again second service. So I'm like, I really,
oh yeah.
So, I mean, I was like, it was
let's
easy.
go.
So we had prepared a while, and then people started going. Pastor Jeff goes, patient goes, and then like, so I'm narrowing it down, pulling stuff from their sermons, which is it's helpful to go last. Yeah, get everybody's stuff. But then like, I talked with my wife about it a little bit. I talked with John about it. Felt kind of good, but it was still like not like solid. And then he was like, I went to the church on Tuesday just to meet with Pastor Jeff to talk about all the logistical stuff, getting the notes on the app, getting my PowerPoint there, stuff like that, which is also stuff you got to worry about.
That's a lot.
Oh, so much went into this, bro. It's like so much other stuff that people don't even know.
Some of that stuff you may not have until like the week before, or even like the day of. Like, I got to put this in there. Hey guys, I want to change this. Can you change to this?
Well, luckily, like it's pretty easy to change stuff. He just showed me how to do everything, so that was pretty cool. But I'm meeting with him, and then Pastor Carl comes in. He's like, "Hey, I want to meet with you. We can talk through your sermon." I was like, "Let's start over." He's gonna tell me it's all bad. I'm start over because I hate criticism.
Yeah,
I need it, but I hate it. And so even after first service, I'm like, okay, I wonder like what he's gonna say. And the cool thing, Pastor Carl is really good at giving criticism because he starts with everything that went well, and then he's like,
"True marks of a leader.
Some things you need to do." And he's like, gave me some really good points, asked me some good questions to think about, and so it was really easy to implement his feedback. Because like he does a really good job being like, listen, you did well on this, you did this well, I like this, like that. So some people not good at giving criticism.
Oh, absolutely.
And listen, people, my non-preacher people, okay, you gotta be careful with your criticism, man.
I'm telling you.
Not that you can't give it. I don't ever want to. If you're in a church situation where you can't ever criticize the preacher, that's not healthy.
Right.
But I also think this is part of a larger issue. You've got to have a relationship to be able to. Again, it comes with
not everybody has a voice,
right? Yeah. So and there's a time and place for it. There's a time and place for criticism. Not that, again, you should be able to do it. It's necessary, but there's just a way to go about it.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, if you preach in 2 services, second service is probably not the time to just be like, that was terrible. Like, did God actually call you to preach? Do you think this is something of the Lord? Like, did you? No, that's just not the time, because now I got to go up with all of this in my head. And not just that, but like healthy criticism, like constructive. Don't just tell someone something was bad and then leave. Yeah. Also, don't tell someone that something is good and then leave.
Oh, so good.
It does,
and that's it.
What was good?
What was? Yeah, I mean, the cool thing was like after, I was outside. This lady, I forget her name. I just met her that day. She was like, came with me. She's like, hey, that was really good. I like when you said about the fruit, and you said because she goes, a tree doesn't eat its own fruit.
Dude, that was heavy for me.
I stole that from her. Literally, I was like, I told her, I'm still in that. That's really, I didn't think about that. I didn't say that first service.
Oh.
I was like, that's right. A tree does not eat its own fruit. The fruit is for others. I was like, I'm taking that from you. She was like, you can have it. I said, great, thank you. So like, that was really cool criticism. She was very specific feedback. She was like, I like this.
Which also helped to amplify the message in the next one.
Yeah, the next one. So that was really cool.
And your sermon was really good. I just went back to my notes. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot you talked about this.
So about your last sermon, it was on Hebrews, right?
My last sermon in TG.
Okay, yes, that's true. I was actually thinking about the last time you preached at On Ramps.
Oh,
You did just preach at TG. I forgot about that too.
my last
You can
sermon.
talk about both.
Yeah. Honestly, I had to find my notes for on ramps. I don't remember that sermon.
I think it was on like Hebrews, like 5 or 6. I remember you were like really stressing about it.
Yeah, because a part of it said like it talks about how people will have tasted like the goodness of God and then have turned away. That there's like no hope for them. And I was like, dude. And this is crazy thing about the Bible, just in general, is that when things don't make sense to you, it doesn't mean that God doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It just means you need to study more, find out what He's trying to say.
Yes.
So that was like my huge thing. But I'm gonna go with the one from TG.
Okay.
Because it's more fresh in my mind.
Yeah. How'd you feel about that?
I was super nervous.
You hadn't preached in a minute.
It's been a long time
been a while
since I preached and teach, and it's crazy because I preached at On Ramps. I preach every other month at On Ramps on the last Saturday of the month. But and TG has been a long time, and that the scene is just so much different. You know, I feel like at TG everybody's like young and vibrant, and like whatever you say, like they're literally gonna go like figure out like if what you said was true. So that always like gets to me. And then we have like, and this is definitely like not a good thing to say, but we have like really great preachers who I sometimes get like very timid in how I preach. So I look at like you, who was like super deep and insightful. I look at Will, who's just like hella motivating and like just has like that coach presence. So you leave like, bro, we gotta go do something. Like, let's go spread some gospel somewhere. Let's go. Let me just go sprinkle some somewhere real quick.
Man.
You got Greer, who's his sermon, like he's very I don't want to say slow. What's the word? Like he's very progressive in his sermon. So like it starts off like, where are we going with this thing? And all of a sudden, just like,
and then it gets there, and
boom,
you're like, we are here.
I didn't even know he was traveling. Like this is crazy.
I genuinely love Greer's intros,
dude.
They are just like
and
very
they always,
disarming.
Yes,
and you're like, yeah, I can relate to this. Oh, this is where we're going.
Oh, yes. Wait, I do this?
Yeah.
You were talking about me that whole time?
Yeah.
And then you have like Patient, who's just like that authoritative, like just. You know, and for me, I feel like I'm too chill. I feel like that I'm like
more chill than Greer. Is that even possible?
No, I mean Greer's chill, but like I just feel like I'm not that deep, and I'm not trying to be that deep, and I don't know if I need to be. Like for me and my own learning, going deep matters. But every time I'm preaching, and maybe because I preach to kids a lot, is like it to me. It needs to be simple and something that like people can literally walk away with. Okay, what do I actually do with this? You know, like some things you'll chew on it for a minute. I just want you like mine's like fast food, so you just get it and you can just bam, got it, and we're out of here. So I felt like leading up to it, I was super nervous, super nervous, because two things: the setting is really small. So like if you're not doing a good job, it feels like you can just like off jump,
very
like,
true. Like this is not going well.
No one's
you
responding.
You get a lot of real time feedback,
and like when you see
people be like yawning, and nodding off,
bro.
This be like, this is going horrible.
Yeah, it's going
I'm
horrible.
only 5 feet away from you guys, and I can't keep you awake.
So even that, like I didn't move a lot, just keeping people's attention. That was hard. But I think the sermon in itself was just like helpful to me before the whole ordeal, before I had to actually preach. And then when I actually preached, I just felt like I was comfortable with myself, comfortable with what God had given to me to say to the people. And I don't know, after like talking about the invitation, like we talked about Mark chapter 2 or 3. I think it's 2 or 3 when Jesus calls Matthew to follow him as a disciple, and how he gave the invitation. And that was basically my whole thing. It's like, when's the last time you invited someone to do anything with you? Not just to share the gospel, but just to like be a friend, to like say, hey, like come hang out with me. And I felt like that was like an easy thing to swallow. And then it was just something that like made my life different. I just started inviting people to all kinds of stuff. Like, it's true.
Hey, just ladies have a quinceañera down the street. You want to come?
I didn't get invited, but like we gonna show up together.
I barely know her, but I'm just inviting you.
But I felt that was something in my life, even in seasons. Like I'm in a season now where like I want more people to know me outside of like church. So yes, I want to invite you to my church. I want you to come, but I want you to really like to hang out with me. I want you to get to know who I am, so that when we do go to church, you can trust that I'm not taking you somewhere that's going to be, a terrible experience for you.
You'll at least know somebody there.
Yeah, like
be me.
Legitimately know somebody. So going into it was difficult. I did talk to a lot of people about it, so like that was really great. Just being able to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. Like, is this right? Is this wrong? It was really, really good. And I think even the criticism that you gave me afterwards was really good, because it just made me like slow down and pause, because I was like, I want to go this way with it. And you're like, yeah, that's probably not the way to go. And it was really crazy, because I was literally like 10 minutes before I got up to preach, and I said, I'm going to take this part out. I'm not going to preach this part, because I'm just not. I didn't want it to be too long. I didn't want it to be like too much information at one time. Yeah. So I took it out, and it was literally the Lord.
Great decision. That was a great decision. Yeah. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to continue this conversation about preaching.
Let's go.
Hey guys, what's up? This is an ad, so bear with us. Don't skip it. Guys, we have a Patreon. We've been talking about it for a long time. We would love some more of your support. Okay, if you get anything out of this podcast, any gems, any like good information, knowledge, you feel uplifted and encouraged, please think about supporting us on Patreon. Become one of our patrons, man. We want to expand this thing, make this even better than it is right now. We have, done a lot of renovations out of our own pocket. So guys, like, please think about becoming a patron.
Yeah, because your support goes a long way. It'll help us continue to upgrade our cameras, our computers, our everything that we do here. But we literally can't do it without you. So if you feel led to, please support us through this platform, and continue to support us as we continue to grow and give you better content.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
See ya.
All right, we are back from the break.
Yup.
So let us continue this, man.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot we could talk about here, man. Second major point here, preaching. If you haven't
figured it out,
this out, it is difficult.
It is.
It is a really hard thing to do. I have to say, one of the best experience that I had, the best part about preaching the last Sunday, was that I realized and I was affirmed that I am a teacher, like not a preacher. And like I like that.
Okay.
The best part about that whole experience was like my wife, she said after, like, that was you.
That's absolutely,
like, you weren't someone else. Like, I recognized who you were. Like, that was you. You were like your most you. Pastor Carl said after, he's like, man, like it is so kingdom that John is a preacher and that you are a teacher. Like, you are a teacher. Like, that is for sure. Like, and it's great. And I was like, finally. Man, like, let me be what God made me to be. Like, that's what I really felt like. I was being who God made me to be.
That's good.
And it felt so like freeing. I did not think I would be that comfortable.
Yeah, you seemed like
it was
you.
It was literally
like
the Holy Spirit. Like, it didn't make sense. Even in the moment, I'm like, why am I not tripping right now?
Bro, you seemed like you was just flowing. And it almost felt like you were having a conversation with us. Like, I mean, yeah, definitely like flip side, but you like second service, you didn't really know. You knew some people, but you didn't know like the majority. But like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, why does it feel like me and Jeff are just like talking right now? Like, he's just, and then like, he's like on one of his like nerd out moments. And I'm like, even when you said that I'm gonna nerd out, I was like,
you have been this whole time. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but you didn't just start right now. Yeah. Like, this whole thing.
Oh, this is you about to nerd out? Oh my God. But I heard that afterwards. I heard a lot of people was like, man, it was really nice to not be like preached at. Like, it felt like you were just talking to us. Like, not even like preaching to us. You were just talking to us. It was just like, I was like, cool. Like, I really appreciated that. But because like preaching, especially for me, who's not a preacher, it is so freaking hard.
It's tough, bro.
Like, man, getting up there, just trying to communicate clearly is so difficult.
You can get lost in your own mind. There was one time
Talk about it.
There was this preacher who not be named on this podcast, but he would preach and then he would like say stuff and then like leave out things and then continue. Like in his head he said it, but in real life he didn't say anything. So you're just like trying to follow like,
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You didn't say that. But like because your mind is going like so fast and you're trying to get so much out in a short period of time, you just start going and going and going. Yeah. I always pray like at the end of my sermon that everything made sense from start to finish. And if it didn't, like, Lord, forgive me. Because I'm trying to get people to understand this one thing. Yeah. But like
that makes sense to me.
But then like there's other things that I'm saying that in the moment we're like, oh wow, that was good. And then certain reactions will get you to run tangents. And there's a lot of stuff going on.
Man, it's so easy to get lost, bro. And just be like, where was I going with
this? When you get to the end of the rabbit trail, you're just like.
Bro, it's really funny. At youth group at Flipside, we had a couple of young dudes preach.
Oh, wow.
At youth, the youth ran everything. And then like we had two young dudes preach. And like both of them they both listen to the podcast, love both of y'all. But both of them said, like, during their sermon, like, where am I going with this? Like, don't do that. You cannot say that out loud. As bad as you want to. You got to make it seem like you got it. You just kind of like, just,
like, gather your thoughts to yourself.
Amen? Yes, God. Yes. I'm trying to remember where am I at in my notes?
Take a minute to pray real quick. Just feel like the Spirit is moving right now. Yes. Away from me, but he's moving.
Yeah, man, just trying not to like stutter and say, just getting your words out and like clearly trying to get like points across. Our boy John, our brother John Drodos, man, he is the king of this. Where I told John this, and I love John for this. You're my boy. John does this thing where he says things in threes. You listen, next time he preaches,
this is gonna mess me up now, bro.
I told him this already, so this is not gossip. He knows. He'll be like, God will say, you can do this, you can go through this, you can be in this. Sometimes things will be hard, they'll be difficult, they'll be trying.
Dude,
he does things in threes. He always does things in threes.
That's fantastic.
I love it, bro. I love it. But,
and he'd be on point. And like, okay, cool.
But then there's times where like, bro, the simplest like phrases, you just mess them up. You say the words in the opposite order. You just
like when on that J. Cole song was the Middle Child, and then George Bush's audio goes through, and he's like, there's a saying like down in Texas or it's in Tennessee. I think it's in Tennessee. Fool me once. Fool me, I can't get fooled again. Just be like, what? But those moments, it's like, hey, when you're up there, like your brain just be like, I don't remember I don't know what it is. I don't know the next part of this.
Oh,
so I definitely understand that moment.
Just the simplest things you cannot remember.
Yeah, and I think that's just because the truth is like preaching is public speaking. Mm-hmm. Preaching is communicating.
Yes.
When it's on that large of a scale, because this is different. So for me, like preaching in my youth group is easy. It's like it's a conversation. It's obviously it's a lot more one-sided because I'm always the one doing the most talking. But it's communicating, and at the end, I'm hoping that they are like left with either questions or just like comments. That's like my goal every time I preach in my youth group. But when it comes to like preaching in front of a church, like the whole thing, it's just different. Like you're whatever you're saying is being communicated across the board from people your age, people younger than you, people way older than you, and in all different kinds of biblical backgrounds. Like some people have like a lot of knowledge, some people don't have enough or don't have any knowledge. And you got to hit everybody. That's not an easy task.
Yes. Some people are saved, some people are not.
That too.
And so like that was something I had to put in my second sermon.
Yeah.
At the beginning. That's why, because he's like, listen, you assumed that everybody in there was saved.
Even in the second sermon, like you ended up like saying it. You said it in the beginning, but like all throughout, it was like
that was the only thing I changed. I'm preaching the same sermon. I'm just gonna say, listen, if you ain't saved, everything I'm about to say, you need this. Anyway, let's get to it. Like I was
like, this is really like Christian heavy. You know, like there's like if you're a non-believer, not that this doesn't apply to you, but you don't really understand what's going on here.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Yeah, and there's we've talked about like being churchy, but there's a lot of things that when you're communicating during a sermon, there's a lot of things that are assumed, like certain words you assume your audience knows what you're talking about, right? There's just salvation and sanctification. There's these words that we use that
even talking about like I remember I don't know who I was talking to, but they were talking like dying to your sin, and like. That does like if you've never been in church before, you don't even understand what that means. Like that sin is bad, you know that dying is bad. So now you're like, die to my sin, huh? I don't understand what that means. So,
is my sin gonna kill me? Well, yes,
yes, it will. So there's a ton of balancing going on while preaching, and I don't know. I would even say like if preaching is not good. Be a type of person that's going to be willing to like help someone get better. Yes. Not just kind of leave them there, because that's another thing that
be willing to get better though. Yeah. That is man. Yeah. This is like a comment for preachers right now. Like you gotta be coachable. Probably the best compliment I got. Top 3 compliment I got was Pastor Carl after second service. Like, you're so coachable, and I was like, wow, oh, good. Like you don't like criticism, so I don't. That was the Holy Spirit. Man, I'm not.
I don't know how that boy got there. Yeah, but that is true because your preaching has come a long way since you started. Because the first time you preached,
I rambled. What I was talking about.
It was and no disrespect, no shade. It
was all over the place.
It was like you had energy. But it didn't like match with what you were preaching, and I just remember seeing like, okay, he should finish this as soon as possible. And honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, like I've been in this place where like you're doing a bad job, but for whatever reason you can't find a way to stop. Like you can't find a way to like end the sermon, like just be like, and you're like, why am I still going? Like. I know I'm doing bad. They know I'm doing bad. I wish I could just be like, all right, y'all know Jesus died for you.
The funny thing is, like, I didn't know how bad I was doing. I really didn't. What? Like, I knew it wasn't that great, but, like, I didn't have enough experience in preaching to know that this is not going well. You need to sit down.
Because you were juiced.
I was like
listen. It seemed like you were juiced.
I was just saying stuff.
Yeah. And I think, like, and there's nothing when it goes into, like, when preaching becomes boring, but it's like, how do you, like, get out of that? And that's something you got to be coachable to do. When you can see that your audience's eyes are glossed over, you got to be able to read the room while preaching and to be like, okay, maybe I should move away from the podium, maybe I should do something else, maybe I need to talk louder, maybe I need to like do whatever. Because even like John last night, John on Friday night, I didn't necessarily know what his sermon was about, but there was a time when like he got really loud for like the setting, and I was like, oh, I don't know if the sermon's going well, but like I didn't understand why he was so loud because everybody's sitting on the ground.
I mean, it went well.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought his sermon went well. He was just really hyped.
He was super passionate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, John is an old Baptist preacher. He's an evangelist. He's a Billy Graham.
Let's go. I would agree.
That's the type of
because he wants people to be saved.
He like, really, and it's like it comes from a very real place of compassion. Like I want you guys to. Yeah. So,
and he's experienced that too.
Yeah, and I thought it went well. But talking about the spectrum of being either too boring or too entertaining, I think it's easy to identify this sermon as boring. Right? Yeah. Like, but the other side of it is a little bit harder to nail down.
So what is too entertaining?
Where you focus too much on like the jokes or...
So you're talking about the sermon or the?
Yes, I'm like actually preaching.
Gotcha.
Like the delivery of the sermon. Like maybe your sermon is very joke heavy. Even honestly, it's all about you. Like the whole thing is just you talking about you. Like, okay, so what does this have to do with the Bible or Jesus?
Jesus, right.
Like, if I learn a lot about you, even like entertaining doesn't have to be like I'm laughing. It could be like, wow, it's so emotional.
Yeah.
Or like you're really appealing to my emotion. Or like, you know, like, but like I didn't get any like scripture or especially Jesus.
At the end of the sermon, I walked away like,
man, you
that was fun.
Are dope. Or yeah, that was fun. That was entertaining. That was like, you know, it made me feel good.
Yeah.
But like, what did I learn about Jesus? Like, that's the biggest.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing that we did during the summer, Pastor Carl had a bunch of us over. I think you were in South Carolina when we did this, so you couldn't come. But we had we talked about preaching. We did like a little class on like what is preaching, and we looked at different styles of preaching. And we ultimately, which I agree with him, settled that like the really truest way of preaching is what's called Christocentric preaching, where like it's if I don't get Jesus, if you can't show me Jesus in the text, don't preach it. It's basically what it comes down to. If this can't connect back to Jesus, what he did, then you probably shouldn't be preaching it. And there's different types. There's like social justice preaching, which is very popular. There's like super heavy like stories about the preacher preaching, or like you're preaching yourself. There's a lot of like examples from your life and stuff like that, but it doesn't go back to like, okay, what does that have to do with Jesus?
Yeah,
right. There's a couple. I have a paper somewhere, but
it's interesting.
But yeah, but like Christocentric preaching is like the main thing that you should be focusing on. The other ones have their pluses and minuses, but this one has the fewest minuses. It has the most pluses. It's just like, what does that have to do with Jesus?
Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. Like, if you're not doing that, you're not really preaching.
That's like pretty much like where I'm at.
Yeah.
In this thing is like, so that was great. That was really encouraging. That was really uplifting. That was, even if it was convicting, what's it got to do with Jesus?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it might motivate you or make you like feel like, oh, I got to do more.
I got to be a better person.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I got to try. Oh, that was another style is like self-help preaching. Like, I'm going to give you 7 steps to have a better marriage, or, you know, 3 steps to have better whatever. Like, what's that got to do with Jesus? Like, if you're telling me to try harder, that's not the gospel.
Oh, that's real.
I mean, that's simple. If
real.
It's like my human effort to be a better person or be, you know, the best me, be a better Christian. Yeah. Like, that's not preaching.
Absolutely. I agree.
You know, because I can't do anything. Jesus did it all. I've just got to follow
in our transgressions.
Yeah.
There's nothing we could do from that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely, and listen, guys, this is no shade to anyone because we have done this. There are good and bad sermons.
Oh, yeah.
We've kind of talked about it already, but there are some bad sermons,
There are some bad sermons. And there's bad sermons from good preachers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want people to get confused. And it's hard because like I don't know. I don't think that most preachers are like intended to have like bad sermons, or
no, I don't think anybody trying sets out to have a bad sermon.
Yeah, or trying to like, I'm not quite. I do think that there are some people who are out there trying to like orchestrate sermons in order to get their own way, to like manipulate the people. That's a bad sermon.
No, I definitely agree with that.
But I think that
all prosperity gospel preaching is bad
exactly all of it.
Every single one.
There are some messages that get preached from people who are either unaware of a text, you know, or like they think it says one thing and it actually means something else.
Bad exegesis.
Bad exegesis. Yeah. So when you get to like that, it doesn't mean the preacher is like trying to like lead people astray or trying to manipulate church. They just have a wrong understanding of what they read.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is like good and bad sermon doesn't mean a good or bad preacher.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
I feel like a lot of people will just say, oh, that was a bad sermon, therefore you're a bad preacher. I'm never listening to you again. Well, no, like let's just give some grace because like there's us who literally like make mistakes every day, and that doesn't mean that people who get up to preach won't ever make a mistake. Yeah. They do too. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. Like, and there's the inverse as well. Just you could be a bad preacher and have a good sermon.
That is true.
You know?
Because that happens a lot.
Listen, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Dude, even Satan tempts you with the truth. Like,
man, man. So there definitely are good and bad sermons. I don't really want to talk about what makes a good. I thought you did a good job kind of talking about it right now, like what makes a good and bad sermon, like what makes a good sermon, what makes a bad sermon.
I think the only thing I would add is like the motive behind what you're preaching.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I always feel terrible when I hear sermons that are like directed to the church without including the pastor in that, like, or the pastor's like going off or like just making an example of people. Like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who loves to deliver convicting messages, I don't know why I'm like, there's something wrong with me, something twisted in me. I enjoy conviction.
You love stepping on toes?
I'd be like,
coming down your aisle.
Why is he smiling? Emma literally asked me that. We were talking about I was talking about I like convicting sermons. She's like, you're smiling when you talk about conviction. I'm like, I know. I don't know why I enjoy it, but I had to be very careful not to say you. I either say me or us or we. Like, and I did it once in first service, and Pastor Carl was like, hey, don't do that. I was like, oh, you're right. But it's like, you got to be very careful not to be like pointing fingers. Yeah. You got to say either, look, man, I struggle with this, or we struggle with this. Yes. Right? Because you're very right. It can be very like pointing the finger, talking.
Yeah, like people. Everybody else is wrong and you're right.
Mm-hmm. And I used to do this, but y'all still doing it. Like, hold on, bro.
And I mean, there could be truth in that, but it don't come off that way. It's not like you're trying to help me. It's like you're trying to tell me you're better than me, which then makes
self-righteous,
you
man.
Automatic Pharisee.
Come on, talk about it.
I feel it.
Yeah, man. I think so. Moving into like our last point here. One of the things that definitely can lead to a good or a bad sermon is preparation,
dude.
And preparing for sermons is hard. It's probably the worst part,
dude.
It's preparing might be worse than actually preaching.
Yeah, because preparing,
I don't know.
It has a very like long-term process. So like preaching, you're going to get up there and it's going to last whatever your time is, and it's going to be over.
Be done.
That's it. Preparing is like, you could tell me like 6 months in advance and I'm preparing the whole time, but that's excruciating.
Yes.
Because even when I don't want to think about the sermon, I'm thinking about the sermon. Even when I don't want to, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then sometimes the Lord just wants to talk to you at like random times. You're just like, you could have.
Can we reschedule?
Like, and even in those moments where where the Lord is talking to you, and it's just not a good time for you, like you try to ignore it, and then you be like, but what you said was good, so just hold that, and I'll be right. And then he'd be like, I'm done.
I'll start typing.
Yeah, because you have to, because it's not guaranteed the Lord's gonna be like bring that back to your memory. There's been times when I'm like, oh, dude, that's fire, and I'm like, oh, but I'm gonna remember that later. Nope. Leave, come back, like, Lord, what
was it? Can you say it again?
Just one more time,
bro.
He'd be looking at me like, I'm like the most important thing in the universe. So you don't put me on hold.
I said what I said, bro. That is so real. Like the amount of time when you have to preach. Like I had like a good 2 or 3 months.
Oh, can't get it out of your system, man.
I literally was miserable. Like, because like the whole time I know it's coming and you're never not thinking about it. Like I literally can't read anything else in the Bible.
Yeah.
So I am an expert on Mark 11 because I read it so much.
Absolutely.
Because you're just like, I can't go anywhere else because like even when you listen to other sermons, you're still going to church.
Like, how do I get this back to
and
Mark
11?
This
and you're like, luckily, going to the flip side, we're all talking about the same thing. But like even in TG, it was like, this is cool, but Mark 11 is in the back of my mind.
All your comments, all your questions.
That's if you noticed every time somebody, I'm like, I'm preparing a sermon, and in my sermon, blah 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 blah.
Do you ever find yourself like because you have a lot of time to prepare, like second guessing, like what, like you're gonna like the direction you're gonna take?
Dude, I changed that thing like 4 times. At one point, it was like a 3-point sermon about some like warnings that I saw in there. And then another time it was something else. And then I finally settled on what I did. And I'm glad I did. But yeah, man, like I was talking to John about this yesterday. And it's like, bro, like, because he preached before me the week before I did.
Okay.
And it's like, man, like those sermons that we did compared to like a TG sermon, we put a good like at least 8 hours, probably more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, that's why, ladies and gentlemen, pastors should get paid. Because like the amount of time that they have to put in to prepare a sermon
every week too.
Like that's the thing. I had months. Pastor Carl has like
days.
A few days to like, okay, here we go. What am I gonna like? I mean, that's it.
That's insane. Now that I think about it, I'm like,
bro, I had to literally on the week before. I think the week that John preached. I think on that Wednesday, I spent like a good 3 hours, just like reading, looking at my notes, making my PowerPoint, typing, like reading, like just.
But even some of that's like untangible. So like it's yes,
I don't know how many hours I put. Yeah,
because like just thinking, like
Damn.
Your brain being in a
watching TV, I'm thinking about it. I'm in the bathroom, I'm thinking about it. I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about it. I'm driving, I'm thinking about it. Like,
and all that is part of the preparation.
Yes,
like
it's all part of it.
And then the crazy thing is like when you're connected to God and you're really trying to like serve Him, you don't want to let Him down.
Yeah, man. And then like prayer, like on here is like all your prayers are about it.
Yeah.
God, listen. This sermon, God. Man,
I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to
make you look bad. I don't want to look bad.
And then it's like you're God.
Yeah.
Like and then sometimes I'll psych myself out sometimes. And I'm like, you could do this. Like,
you could pick somebody else.
I mean, you could anybody to do this. Because
there were so many times where I was just like, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to tell Pastor Carl, like, just pick somebody else. I don't want to do. I'm out.
I'm good.
This is too hard.
And because it is hard.
You're so discouraged. You're so like second guessing yourself.
And
unsure.
then don't sin in the midst of all that.
Damn.
Don't sin in the midst of all of that.
Don't intentionally, knowingly sin. Which praise God, I didn't.
And then don't make your wife upset.
And, bro, the amount of attacks that you get, like it's just insane. Leading up to it, all kind of stuff happening. The devil's like, hey, hey. Mm-hmm. And it's like, nah, bro, I'm not doing that because I need this connection to be clear.
Yeah, cannot be severed.
Because you need to be constantly hearing from him the whole time. Like, the whole time. I'm driving in the car. Okay, another thing. The amount of times that I mentally preach my sermon.
Oh, bro.
Like,
dude.
Like a good 20, 30, 40 times. Where like I go through the whole
and you can feel it in your thing. You can feel it in your heart. Like your whole body starts to react.
Bro, why am I sweating? Like the whole thing. Like there will be times I'm in the house and I'm just like walking back and forth in the bathroom, like not just my mouth is moving and I'm like,
and you're like going in.
I literally go through the whole thing. Jeez. And I'm like, okay, how long did that take? I have no idea how long I've been doing this. I ran out, I lost track of time. Like, was that an hour? Like, it's gonna be too long of a sermon if I do that. Dude. And it's just like, oh, you're just psyching yourself out. You're in my mind, I get standing ovations every time. It just goes amazing. Everybody's weeping. It's just beautiful.
Just before the altar, like
we don't even do altar. What must I do?
We don't even do altar calls. We just do like
what must I do to be saved? Everybody's prostrate. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, it's
a lot, and I think I think it's under. I think a lot of pastors are undervalued because people don't understand like all that
amount of work, the amount of reading you have to do. Mm-hmm. Like it got to the point where I read my initial. I probably read Mark 11 a good, I don't know, 45 times.
What?
Because like it's one. First of all, I have a whole chapter, right? So the first time you read it, because Pastor Carl assigned it to you, you need to be ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, read it. Cool. You make some initial notes. All right, cool. That's what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. And then you talk amongst each other. You hear some different things. Okay, you go back, you read it again. Read it again. You're looking for different things. You look at the footnotes. Like different references it's making. So you go to those things. You read those. You get on tangents. You're like reading. Why am I reading this? I gotta go back to Mark 11. You go back and reading it again. And then I stop, take a break. You don't open it. I'm not trying to think about Mark 11, even though you keep thinking about Mark
I'm about to say,
and
don't
then
stop.
you hear a sermon from one people in the series. Wow. Go back to Mark 11. Well, how does this relate to Mark 11? Boom, boom. Okay, cool. Oh, this is okay. And then you start seeing stuff. You just see it connecting. Stop. Come back. The coolest thing was the week before.
Mm-hmm.
I had taken like maybe a week off. Hadn't read it. Hadn't thought about it. I'm like, okay, I need to read this again. Let me just see if there's anything I'm gonna see in there. I pray God, but pray before I pray to God. Okay, open it up, and I see all kind of stuff, new stuff. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. The point that I made about the difference between Matthew and Mark, the way they talk about the story of the fig tree.
I remember vaguely.
Okay, it was crazy. I'm telling you, Brandon, for like a month and a half.
Was you talking about how the fig tree was like a symbol of strength?
No.
Not that part. Okay.
So for a month and a half, I had already planned out how I was gonna tell that. It was like, because in Mark, he talks about the beginning part of the fig tree where Jesus curses it. Uh-huh. Then he talks about going into the temple and cleansing him out. And then he finishes.
It's like the shadow and then the actual
like he does it. Boom. Matthew, fig tree, curses it, withers. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Go to the temple, cleanse the temple. Moving on.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take these two parts, talk about them separately, and then I'm like, this is so inconvenient. Like, why I gotta do this, Mark? Why'd you write it like this? And then I read it that week before, and I'm like, oh, this is why you did that. It was crazy, right? And then the reference that Jesus makes when he's cleansing the temple and says you turn into a den of thieves.
Right.
So it was crazy. When we met in June, Pastor Carl was like, yeah, you should go read Isaiah 56, which is the first part Jesus quotes about the house of prayer, making my father's house of prayer. I read that and I'm like, I'm not getting anything from this. This is not hitting me. Like, okay, yeah, that's what Isaiah says, but it's just not. Right. I don't see how I'm gonna make this work. I'm like, man, whatever, forget it. So then I go back that week before. I open it up and I'm like, okay, this last part has a footnote about Jeremiah. What the heck is Jeremiah talking about? I go there and I was like, oh deep. My gosh, this is like, crazy.
Sometimes gotta say some stuff. Like,
you said that?
What? Good Lord. Like, can you say that?
So, yeah, man, just reading your word to prepare for the sermon is difficult, man, because the Bible is freaking the Bible. So it's a lot. Yeah. It's so much. I have so much more respect for preachers after doing that.
I have so much respect for pastors who preach every week.
2 services, multiple services.
There's no way.
It's exhausting.
I can't even.
I was done.
And then literally when you finish, like, you're just like, oh, I am so glad I have to do that for like the next year.
I told Pastor Carl, I was like, man, I need a while before you ask me. He goes, no, you're going to get more opportunities. You did too good. I was like,
and it's always funny because like you're always like, okay, cool, I did good. But you really don't want to go through that experience again.
Not for a while. Like it felt good to like, now I know I can do it. Mm-hmm. My wife literally asked me today, we were sitting in church and she was like, do you do that again? And I was like, yeah, I actually do think I could do it again.
Do you want to do it now?
Hey,
no.
No. But just knowing that I could do it and like survive it and like not die and it actually went well and people liked it. Okay, like this is something I could do.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
Man.
I think that's really good. Even it being something that people like. And also something that's like changing their lives, which goes to like our last point, which I was like really interested. Thing I want to talk about,
is
the
similarities.
Sorry, that literally just like similarities. Boy, but like in my mind, I was saying, I was like similarities. That doesn't sound right. But the similarities and then the differences between preaching and podcasting. How is it different?
So, dude, we're almost at 2 years.
Are we really?
Of podcasting. In October, it'll be 2 years. We're like 2 months away. Jeez. Think about that.
I didn't think.
It's almost been 2 years of podcasting.
I literally feel like it was just like a couple of days ago when they gave us
a year.
TG gave us the cake. Yeah.
It's literally almost been 2. We have almost 2 years of podcasting experience, bro.
What the?
So that's crazy. So I think there's a lot of similarities between preaching and podcasting.
Okay.
The preparation.
Yes.
Your topic, trying to make sure all those different nervousness things that we have are the same.
Yeah.
Worried about communicating clear, worried about leading people astray, worried about all that
stupid,
stuff.
sounding stupid.
Looking stupid, sounding stupid. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff. Being entertaining, being boring. You know. So yeah, I mean those things are definitely similar. One thing I like about podcasting more than preaching is, I don't know how to put this, but it's like podcasting, you have a lot more freedom in the fact that we can do an episode about how hard it is to preach.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like you can't preach. Man, it's really hard to do it. Let me tell you about it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
there's a lot of like freedom in just the medium of doing a podcast. You're able to like expose different things and shed light on different things that people wouldn't know. You wouldn't be able to do. Like, I honestly would love if a lot more preachers and pastors had a podcast.
True.
Because I feel like their congregations and different people would be able to see a different side of them, and they become more human. They'd be able to relate to them a little bit more. They would be freed up to like say things that they can't say in the pulpit. And
I think they would also be able to like elaborate on things that they said.
Yeah.
From the pulpit.
So when you said this, Pastor, I didn't know what you was listening to what I was talking about. Yeah, that's a good.
I think
point.
that'd be really good because like you, with the podcast, number one, like it's the communicating factor is. I think it's like an easier way to communicate. Like preaching is great,
yes,
but there's always like things that like you don't have enough time to explain.
Yeah,
so
there's
like
a lot less pressure. You have a lot more time.
Yeah. So and you have a lot like even the preparation, like being on a podcast, you could literally write out your notes and then be like, cool, we're gonna elaborate on this today, and then next week we'll elaborate a little bit more on like this part. That's true. Yeah. And I think you can do that in a series, but it's two reasons. One is difficult because like you may not be able to make like the person, the member, the church person, the churchgoer may not be able to make every single one. So like,
and even if they do, they're not gonna remember.
Yeah,
that's the hardest part.
Yeah, you don't get to remember.
Like I feel like preachers, I remember most of what Pastor Carl has said in this Mark series. Most of it, not all of it, but most of it. A regular person who's not like spending that much time in the Bible all the time, they're just like
you're taking like bits and pieces.
Yeah,
maybe like 3% of the sermon is something that sticks with you.
Yeah. So
that makes it hard. But when you have a podcast, you can just elaborate and go way deeper and exploring, and even exploring ideas that you had that you probably would never say in the pulpit.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you don't know who like may take that and like run with it, and like starting their own religion off what you said.
Yeah, man. That's a good point. Yeah, I think I wish, and this honestly, I feel like our podcast has been and can be a place for preachers and pastors to come and, like you said, talk through some stuff that they normally can't say. Like I know Pastor Carl has said that he talked to me about this, about like podcasting. Like, yeah, it's just a different form of communicating that's a little bit more free than preaching. I know Patience appreciated it. I know, John and Will and stuff like that. So definitely want to get a few more like preachers on here and just talk through some of these things, talk about like their experience and what it's like, and just give them an environment that's a safe place to like say some stuff and do some things and go some places
that they wouldn't be able to do. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, man. I think I do believe that more people would be intrigued by that, especially if it's like a pastor that's like that like has like not necessarily like a good following, but like whose sermons like really do like affect the community that they're in, or just like their church in general. And it's like, I mean,
it could literally just be for your congregation.
Yeah,
and just a way for them to know you and see you in a different way,
to see you as human, see you laugh. There's some pastors like you never see him laughing. You just be like, dang, that dude's mean. And then like all his friends be like, he's a joke. Like, come on. You're like, you can't say that about him.
Just talk to his wife. Pastor's wife will tell you, man.
Tell you everything.
You don't do half the stuff he said. But yeah, man, this was a good time, bro. Yeah. Hopefully you guys got something out of this.
Yeah, if you didn't get nothing else, if you're a preacher and you don't get to Jesus in your sermon,
yeah, man,
you're missing it.
If you are a churchgoer, congregation member, and they don't get to Jesus in their sermon regularly, you better either talk to them or find somewhere else to go. Because
that's not it, man.
That's not it. Yeah, man. So, guys, check out our previous episode with Cam. I've heard so many great things about that. That was so many great things. Cam, thank you for doing that with us, bro.
That was amazing.
And, thank you guys. Share this with your friends, family.
Yeah. Make sure you like our YouTube channel
Yes,
or
like
subscribe to
it,
our
subscribe, hit the
and
bell,
like that. All that kind
good
of stuff helps.
man.
Definitely commenting helps a
Yes,
lot for
with
us.
the algorithm, all
So,
that, and then just helps us get to know, you know,
who
what
you
guys
are.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone who like messages us on Instagram.
Yes.
We
Got
see
some
y'all.
really cool DMs from people, man. So yeah, keep doing that, guys.
Yeah.
Love y'all. Have a good week.
All right.
See y'all on the next one.